What's the weirdest thing you've done while your brain was on autopilot? In college I had a fair number of all-nighters and usually had the TV going to help keep me up and help with concentration. Once a couple weeks after submitting an essay for a political science class, I noticed that the message I sent with it to my professor went something like, "Attached is my water for Italian cooking." My essay was completely fine and had nothing to do with Italy. I guess my brain just turned off as soon as I detached the paper, and there must have been some cooking related infomercial on TV while I sent it. The name of the place I work at begins with an F, and I was chatting with one of my coworkers who was telling me how she runs 10 miles or so every morning as the phone was ringing. What was going through my head was fuck that, so when I answered the phone I said, "Fuck, this is Travis, how can I help you?" My husband and I had an inside joke. Whenever someone lost something, the other person always asked, "Have you checked inside your butt?" I was in a meeting at work, conservative and traditional corporate office, one day, and a coworker said, "I can't find my pen." Without any thought or hesitation I quickly responded, "Have you checked inside your butt?" As soon as I said it, I snapped back to reality and realized I was at work. As you can imagine, everyone went silent and stared at me as my face turned bright red. I sleepwalk once in a while. Recently I got up at 2 AM and fed the dog. My girlfriend woke up and was like, "WTF, did you just feed the dog? What time is it?" Apparently I looked her in the eye and said, "Everyone loves a midnight snack." I bought a block of cheese for myself last weekend while my fiancé was away in Nashville. Put it in the fridge like a normal person. At some point I had to get something out of the miscellaneous drawer in the kitchen. You know, the one that holds pencils / rubber bands / menus. I didn't find what I was looking for in there, but I did find an unopened block of cheese. No idea how I managed to put it there, nor do I remember ever taking it out of the fridge. But it had to be me, right? When I was sick and feeling feverish, I decided to take some Motrin to try and alleviate the symptoms. Usually I grab the pill bottle and shake out 2 pills, but instead I grabbed my water bottle first and poured water all over my hand. Was on the phone with my boss, and she was getting really irritated about something. I don't even remember what. The combination of her irritation and my exhaustion made my brain misfire, and I ended the call with, "Okay, bye bye mom, I love you." I was so embarrassed, but she thought it was hilarious and started calling me her adopted daughter after that. I mean, she is the same age as my mom, so it's not too weird, but I certainly felt like a child around her instead of a colleague until she left the company. I miss her. Back when we had a landline I was talking on the cordless phone, and when I hung up I stuck it in the fridge without even blinking an eye. It was lost for hours and nobody noticed until we got a phone call and the fridge started ringing. Typing up a report for work. Coworkers having a conversation near me. I proceed to start transcribing their conversation. Another time after work I got into the passenger seat of my car and waited a good 2 minutes to be driven home before realizing I was alone. When I was in school, 6th grade I think, my mom would make my bagged lunch. She would wrap soda cans with aluminum foil so they would stay cold. Pretty sure that doesn't work. One day I unwrapped my soda and discovered she packed me a beer that day. Woke up early Monday morning in a bit of a panic. I had forgot to buy cat food yesterday. The cat must be starving. I hurry and get ready for work. I plan a detour to the store to buy the cat food. On the drive there I'm planning my run into the store and I realize I don't know what aisle the food is on. How could I not remember what aisle the cat food is on? Then it hits me. I don't have a cat. I haven't had one for several years. I'm a security guard for Amazon, and I have to do bathroom checks. Caught myself yelling security right before going to the restroom at a bar on my day off. Thank God it was empty. I have a story for this. One time I was using one of the restrooms at my university when I heard a woman shout, "Janitor, is anyone in there?" Much like you, I never know what to do in these situations. I'm also not the best at being loud and assertive, especially when poo is hanging out my ass. So, I quietly mumbled something about the restroom being occupied. Only, the janitor did not hear me and came in to clean. At this point, I began to panic, and all rationality in my brain shut off. What I should have done was let her know that I was there. This is not what happened. Instead, I held my breath, hoping she would leave without noticing me. Nope. She proceeded to clean while I sat still and unable to finish my poo. This went on for a good 5 to 10 minutes before she finally got near my stall and noticed me sitting there. She also freaked out, apologized profusely, and fled. Having found myself mysterious constipated, I wiped my ass without finishing and rushed out of the building with my head down, hoping not to run into that poor old lady. Moral of the story, always yell back. Always. Cleaning up my face with electric clippers. Thought, oh, Mr. Spot, and proceeded to shave off my fucking eyebrow. I used to work for Subway, so I was very used to pizza sub meaning pepperoni. One day I went to a pizza place on my break and repeatedly told them I wanted a pizza and got very annoyed that they kept asking what kind of pizza I wanted. I have two. Walking to work on a very straight path through a nature reserve. I fell asleep and sleepwalked for about 10 minutes. It was so weird. I blinked and suddenly appeared near the end of my journey. Got into my car with coffee and a newspaper. Carefully held the rolled up newspaper whilst hurling the coffee onto the passenger seat. I went to a high school in the early 90s where smoking in the bathrooms between classes was very common, even though it was punishable by an $80 fine. You were required to say it's cool when entering the bathroom or kids would assume you were a teacher and put their cigarettes out. Not doing so could get your ass whooped. Like most kids in my school, I became so used to it that it was second nature. I got a job in it immediately after leaving high school in a nice office building where I had to wear a tie. I'll never forget walking into the bathroom and loudly saying it's cool and the president of the company saying what's cool with a confused look on his face. I just stood there like a dope for a second and then made up something about it being part of a song. I'm sure he thought I was a weirdo after that. My dog eats in my room, which is across the house from the kitchen, and she gets a mix of wet and dry food that I mix up with a fork. So I get her wet food, get halfway to my room, realize I've forgotten the fork, go back to the kitchen, get a fork, get halfway back to my room, and realize I've forgotten the food, go back to the kitchen, set the fork down, forget entirely what I'm doing, go back to my room to a very sad and confused puppy. Pour her dry food into her bowl, go to the kitchen, leave the bowl on the counter, and go turn on the TV. Walk back in 15 minutes later, see the bowl, fork, and food sitting on the counter, feel like a dunce, and apologize to the puppy. Repeat 2 to 3 times a week. Once while playing an intense board game, I was concentrating so hard that my buddy realized that he could just hand random things to me and I'd take them and put them in my jacket pocket or place them on the table in front of me. I only realized when I ran out of space to put things. I used to fall asleep in class quite often, and normally my writing would trail off into something illegible and then I'd be out for the count for 10 over 15 minutes. One time I woke up after an in-class power nap to find that my writing had trailed off and then I'd written my son as clear as anything at the end of the sentence. I was 13 over 14 at the time and don't have any children. I work front desk and now whenever I'm in public I unconsciously make eye contact, smile, and greet everyone I see. Luckily, I'm in the South, so people don't think it's too weird, but I have gotten plenty of strange looks and I deserve it. Woke up 3 hours early for some reason and didn't check the clock, but thought I was running late. Rushed through getting ready for work and hit the road. Think it's a bit darker than usual, but it could just be grey clouds before the rain. Roads are a bit emptier than I'm expecting. Must be lucky today. Finally pull up to work and start opening up the shop before anyone else gets in. Look over at the clock and realize I still have 2 hours to go before I even wake up. Almost went home, but decided to stay and just take off 3 hours earlier than normal. Spend ages cooking dinner, only to pick the plate up and empty it straight into the bin. I was so tired and hungry, I cried. I was making breakfast one early morning and crack my eggs straight into the garbage. Open banana, discard white parts into trash, pick the stringy bits off, notice I'm holding a peel and not a delicious banana. go back to bed, because clearly I'm not functioning and need to turn myself off and back on again. I was tutoring another student on geometry, arc and area and whatnot, just after I had finished cramming for and taken a calc test. About 3/4 of the way through the poor kid's homework I realized that I had not done any of the problems correctly. Rather, to the student's endless confusion, I had been integrating the circumference of the circle between the endpoints of the arc. Once I realized my mistake, I redid the work with him and reimbursed the session cost. I've never seen someone so grateful to find out that they were doing their math right and that I was in whatever post-apocalyptic math-based dreamscape. You have a message from the autopilot man. Like and subscribe to not throw your food in the trash without realizing